Okay, this video is to show how to attach the wires to the 3-wire potentiometer switch for a Vita-mix. If your Vita-mix happens to have 3 wires, this is the switch that you would need. So if you have not watched the other video that we have posted about how to disassemble your Vita-mix, you'll want to go ahead and watch that first so you can get your machine apart. So we're going to show you the best way to do this. This is just our way. You might have a better way, so be it. So first things first, this is the package that you'll get. It has 3 heat shrinks, the nut, and the switch. It has an easy open package on the side. You can just tear it, slide it out. Take all the pieces out here. So again, 3 pieces of heat shrink, the mounting nut, and the potentiometer switch. As you can see, there are tabs on each one of these wires that will be used later. I'll explain those a little bit later. So once your machine is apart, you will have your potentiometer that's connected to your Vita-mix. So for example purposes, this one that we're going to pretend is the one that is attached to your Vita-mix right now, and that there's 3 wires coming out of it. Before you do anything to this, you're going to want to make a diagram of how everything is attached. So essentially you draw a little picture of what this thing looks like when you're looking head on to the knob here, or the knob mount. So kind of draw that as it is, and you will have 3 tabs coming off the bottom. Each one of those represents a color of a wire. Now I don't have the actual one with the red, the yellow, and the black wires here, so I'm using this one just for example purposes. But what you'll want to do is label, when you're looking at it in this orientation, which color wire goes to which one of these tabs. So just for example purposes, we'll say that this is red, yellow, and black. Okay? Once you have that diagram, you know how you need to reattach them. So what you're going to want to do is take either some wire cutters or some beefy kind of scissors and disconnect all 3 of those fittings, so that, or all 3 of those wires, so that they are no longer connected. Now you'll notice that there is a pre-cut piece of the insulation on the switch or the potentiometer that you receive. What you'll want to do is mimic that same amount so that you have an equal part that you can detach. To do that, you would use wire strippers. These ones happen to have come from Harbor Freight. They were approximately $5 or less. I don't remember specifically. I think I got them on sale for $2.99. I used the 18 gauge mark on there and simply just click it to cut the insulation, and then you're ready to use that. Now what you're going to want to do is, once you have all 3 of them cut from your original potentiometer and you're ready to cut those there, you'll want to make sure to slip a heat shrink over the top of that first before you move on. Okay, you'll do that to all 3 of the wires that are there. Then you'll expose the wires, or the strands of the wire, by pulling off the insulation, and you'll do the same on your wire on the new potentiometer. Now I'm not going to actually use that one. I'm going to use this wire here to represent one of these wires. Okay, so it's already got a little piece of insulation that has been cut to be trimmed. And what you're going to want to do is put the 2 wires together, double check that you have your heat shrink on before you do anything else, and then you'll take those 2 wires and twist them together really, really tightly. You want to make sure that this is a very, very tight connection, so that if you were to pull on it, give it some nice tugs, it's not coming apart. And once you've ensured that it's a nice tight fit, fold that down over the end, take your heat shrink, slide it up over like this. Make sure that you're covering all of the strands of the wire that you've just twisted together, so that none of them are sticking out. If you have any loose ones, for example these ones have a couple that are somewhat loose, kind of push them out of the way so that they're not going to poke through on that heat shrink. And then again, slide the heat shrink down, put it right over the top of it, And once it's slipped over the top and you know that you have no other little strands sticking out, like that, make sure both ends are clear and that there are no wire strands sticking out. You can either use a lighter and light it, or heat it with the heat from the flame, such as this. You don't want to keep it in one spot for very long. Or the other alternative is to use something like this, a heat gun, and you can melt that heat shrink to completely seal off that connection. And now you have a nice solid connection. You would repeat that for all 3 of the wires following your chart. Now, these tabs I was talking about, they're important because each one of these tabs you can write down the corresponding color. So based on your chart here, you would put your switch down and say, okay, according to this chart, this wire would need to be red. So you could write red on this little tab right here. The middle one, according to this, says yellow. So you could write yellow on the middle tab and then black on the last tab, so that when you're attaching the wires, you have something directly there in front of you saying this is what color wire it needs to attach to. Once all 3 of those have been attached and your heat shrink has been melted for each one of them and you have solid fit, then your Vita-mix is ready to go. Proceed to reassemble everything and use your new mounting threaded screw, or nut, to mount it to your Vita-mix, and you should be back in business again. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below in the comments or email us, and hopefully this video is helpful. Thank you.